So with great pride, this poetry community gathers here today to bestow the honor of Poet Laureate to Maxwell Corydon Wheat Jr. as our own Nassau County's Poet Laureate, in recognition of his outstanding dedication to the art of poetry and his inspiration to generations of poetry lovers throughout Long Island. And we would like Max to come up now, your new Nassau County's...
You're the best, Max!
It says the Poetry Communion of Long Island bestows the honor of Nassau County's Poet Laureate upon Maxwell Corydon Wheat Jr.
Woo! Yeah!
Recognition of his outstanding dedication to the art of poetry and his inspiration to generations of poetry lovers throughout Long Island. And we have a little symbol there on the bottom that says Long Island School of Poetry.
There you go.
I gotta go with the laurels tonight. Okay. You can wear it. I needed a little moment of silence, I think, reflection. It's been amazing to hear all the things that have been said. And I've been trying to process them. And I must say, it's kind of like when I started teaching, and you get observant. The chairman comes in, and the hope, is going to be some good things. I found out that it's a mix, and things that you could improve on. I thought of that because this was something like a observation. A report of observations that many of you have been making over the years. As you thought about it, you thought about my working with you and what it is that possibly you learned from my way of working and what I did. And so it's kind of like feedback. It's nice to hear that what you are doing is is working, that it is successful, that you are doing the right thing. And I think of myself as a teacher, and I think that's the way I really kind of work. So you've been giving me feedback that helps me to evaluate myself a bit professionally. And it's been very helpful. And then I sort of get the feeling with the real Max Wheat, please step out. So, thank you for coming here. And I have to say, to hear the way many people wrote their thoughts, and wasn't this great examples of writing? It's examples of the fine writing that is done by the poets and by the prose writers of Nassau County and of Long Island. Thank you. Now, I prepared a little speech. Friends, family, poets, with gratitude and dedication, I accept your appointment as Poet Laureate of Nassau County. Okay. That's my daughter keeping me straight, telling me what to do. My daughter Mel. And keep me loud enough now back there. Poetry history is being made today, June 24th, 2007. Instead of the government appointing the official poet laureate, poets themselves, those of the Long Island School of Poetry of Nassau County, are naming the official poet laureate. We are making this history today on this historic ground, Cedarmere, home of the man who has been called the father of American poetry, William Cullen Bryant. This is a Nassau County historic site, and it is listed on the National Park Service's National Register of Historic Sites. William Cullen Bryant's poetic language belongs in today's proceedings. What more appropriate than his an invitation to the country, America's greatest poem of invitation. At Cedarmere, we call Bryant America's inviter poet. He invited people to his poetry to come and enjoy nature. Enter this wild wood. The calm shade shall bring a kindred calm, he says in one of his poems. He invited the local children to come feast on his strawberries, apples, pears, peaches, grapes. He often picked the fruits himself for his small neighbors. He invited his friends for long visits, artists, writers, other professionals, Usher Deland, Richard Henry Dana, Samuel Morse. He had guest rooms in his house. Of some 13 buildings, some were used for guests. The house he built up on the hill was only for guests, long-staying ones like Dr. Orville Dewey and his sister Jerusha, to whom he once wrote, "Come and sun yourselves like venerable snakes here at Roslyn, before you turn yourselves into your den for the winter. And if you've seen a garter snake sunning itself on a rock, you appreciate what a comfortable image that is. I'm thinking somebody out there right now, Peter Warney, is appreciating this. One of our great Long Island naturalists is here, who works with snakes and snapping turtles and things like that. Peter, put your hand up. Where are you? I don't see him now. Maybe he left, but he was here. You can feel Bryant inviting you today in the poem. He wrote his daughter Julie an invitation to the country. Already, close by our summer dwelling, the Easter sparrow repeats her song. A merry warbler, he chides the blossoms, the idle blossoms that sleep so long. The bluebird chants from the elm's long branches, a hymn to welcome the budding year. The south wind wanders from field to forest and softly whispers, the spring is here. Come, daughter mine, from the gloomy city, before those rays from the elm have ceased. The violet breathes by our doors as sweetly as in the air of her native east. Though many a flower in the wood is waking, the daffodil is our door-side queen. She pushes upward the sward already to spot the sunshine, the early green. No waves so joyous as these are warbled from wily frizzes and maiden's bower. No pampered bloom of the greenhouse chamber has had the charm of the lawns first. Yet these sweet sounds of early season and these fair sights of its sunny days are only sweet when we fondly listen, and only fair when we fondly gaze. There is no glory in star or blossom till looked upon by a loving eye. There is no fragrance in April breezes till breathed with joy as they wandered by. Come, Julia dear, for the sprouting willows, the opening flowers, and the gleaming brooks and hollows, green in the sun, are waiting their dower of beauty from thy glad looks. That's the most magnificent poem of a father to his daughter. And also a great poem of invitation, and you can feel it. It's an invitation to you here today. When I was first hearing the term poet laureate, there always came the words, I must go down to the sea again. The lonely sea and the sky. Isn't it funny? We all know that. And all I ask is a tall ship and a star to stare it by. John Masefield, poet laureate of England. There are the sounds of exaltation in that phrase, poet laureate of England, associated as it is with great names, William Wordsworth, Alfred Lord Tennyson, Sir John Betjeman. Same with the title, Poet Laureate Consultant to the Library of Congress, associated as it is with great names, Robert Penn Warren, Richard Wilbur, Rita Dove, Billy Collins, now Donald Hall. With designations of poet laureates by states, counties, cities, that aura continues on to those jurisdictional levels. June 4th, Nassau County was to join those governmental jurisdictions carrying its distinguished title, Poet Laureate of Nassau County. But that day saw the legislators' Government Services Committee do the un-American thing and deny by a vote of 6-1 a poet the honor of being named Poet Laureate because of his position regarding an issue crucial to the welfare of our nation. The news of what this legislature did has become known cross-country and cross-planet. My daughter, Nell, was watching the TV, and her daughter, Julie, and they're listening on the radio, and it said, there's another one. In the Montreal Gazette, the Toronto Star, all over. The Boston Globe carried an editorial criticizing this legislature's act. The Boston Globe. Perhaps what some towns want, said the Globe, is a publicist laureate. Or a cheerleader in chief. I want to thank legislator Wayne H. Wink Jr. of Port Washington for saying no to that. And casting that low yes vote. I also want to thank the presiding officer, Judith Jacobs, who came out immediately after the vote and talked to me for several minutes, graciously and reassuringly. Later she came back to suggest that I write a poem about the situation and send it to her. I am working on that poem. I haven't gotten far because I've been kind of busy the last A few days later, I received a warm and encouraging letter from Ms. Jacobs. I am indebted to her. This Nassau County legislature disqualified itself from the honor of appointing the Poet Laureate of Nassau County. The vacancy left it to the poetry community to assume that dignity and privilege, providing perhaps a precedent for poets to act in other places where the government fails to act or disqualifies itself. Our action today does not preclude a future Nassau County legislature from the honor of appointing the Poet Laureate. Paula Camacho said that it was a gift to the legislature, the proposal to establish the position of Poet Laureate. The poets, she said, were giving the legislature the opportunity to demonstrate that Nassau County is a place where the arts, like poetry, are celebrated. Ms. Camacho coordinated efforts of the self-starting committee that looked for this office and that included Edgar Carlson, Beverly Koch, Maria Mano-Bianco, and Judy Terry. I thank them, and also Robert Harrison, Patty Tanner, Susan Astor, Tammy Newser-Morgan, and the Long Island School of Poetry of Nassau County for their support throughout this process of appointing the Poet Laureate. Everybody can love a poem. This is the message that, with your help, I want to bring to the residents of Nassau County and all Long Islanders. With the big publicity that has been given poetry these 3 weeks, and what you, Mr. Wink, were talking about, we have an opportunity to help the residents of Nassau County discover that they have the ability to enjoy and understand poetry, particularly our modern American poetry, with emphasis on our Long Island poetry. Our poetry. Let us make Nassau County and all Long Island, America's Poetry Isle, into an open classroom for poetry. Thank you. We can do this by getting our readings out before the public. Reach the people where they gather, their organizations, which are looking for interesting programs. Don't, we want to urge people, let concern for the meaning of the poem stop you from enjoying the language of the poem. First, enjoy the poem's language, and in that process, meaning will come. Most often, the meaning you feel, your meaning that you find in the poem. This is what we can teach our neighbors. We can show them that it is the language. That is what poetry is. Pleasure of language. Tell those who have had little experience in enjoying poetry to think of experiencing a poem as being like a motorboat ride on the Great South Bay. First, you experience the motions of this poetic boat, these being the feelings that the language is expressing. Then you see the wake, the foam being a mass of sparkles reflecting the sun. The wake is the meaning, coming after you started experiencing this poetic boat ride. You experience the poem's meaning while reading or hearing its language. Any of thousands of wonderfully crafted and phrased poems written by our American poets, including our Nassau County poets and Long Island, can give you a smooth or adventurous literary boat ride. Tell this to the people. Okay. For examples of the kind of poetic language people can't help enjoying on first hearing, here is a medley of lines from poems of 5 Nassau County poets, anonymous. But I got permission from each to use their lines. They know. Back door geraniums. Wait, the winter grip of spring. That's a line for a Nassau public to find that they can enjoy. One year the snow rolled in so high, we thought we were an island. Behind the pilings of the porch, waves crested to the sky, then stopped. I am the distant, detached daughter, floating on the outskirts of our family. For some people, war is an addiction, in pure contradiction to the slumberous silence of the swaying snow. A conventioneer from Peoria, looking for Times Square, once went too far and ended up in Babylon. Not so bad as I thought, he allowed, but where is the Empire State Building? So he showed him Montauk Point, our little lighthouse, and all that mysterious water. big attention given poetry these 2 weeks. Now is the time for we poets to take our poetry readings and our many fine books and chapbooks to the public. And we are ready because of all the readings and open readings we have been participating in, like those of the Performance Poets Association, co-founded and coordinated by Cliff Leidner, some of us for 30 years, some in recent years. These readings over the years have given us practice that has turned us into accomplished performers. Our Nassau County poets are a resource for unique, interesting, and inspiring programs before Nassau organizations that have monthly meetings, or in the case of service clubs, weekly meetings for which they are seeking programs. Here, on these grounds, are an abundance of good programs, a poetic language waiting and eager to be enjoyed by those who have not really found that they can like poetry. For those who feel they need further practice in poetry readings, I am suggesting a return in workshops for poetry reading. I remember the fine workshops presented by Philip Sparacino of Northport at the conferences sponsored by the Live Poet Society, headed by Barbara Donovan in Suffolk County. Coming towards the finale here, I call for a renaissance of children's and young people's poetry. Kindergarten through the senior year in high school. As Poet Laureate of Nassau County, I will work to bring about this renaissance. When skillfully guided, and this is being done increasingly in our schools, children can produce poetic language that is interesting and moving. As a service to Nassau County parents, I want to help make them aware that their girls and boys can write poems that adults can enjoy. As Susan Astor of Mineola, a poet in the schools for 25 years, asserts, children's poems are examples of poetry in its purest form. Well condensed, well detailed, emotionally intense, and frequently lyrical. Like all literature, she says, they provide meaningful insights into the human condition. Some of the finest literature today is being written in the classroom. Now, in this regard, I have news for you. There is not just one poet laureate on the grounds today. There are 3 new poet laureates in Nassau County. The poets whose poems I read before the legislature, for which in the turmoil atmosphere of that day were not really heard. And I am now reading poems by 3rd graders at Meadow Drive Elementary School, Mineola Public Schools, students of Susan Astor. And last week, the school's principal, Pat Malloy, appointed these 3, Erica Sace, Jack Trested, and Michael King, poet laureates of Meadow Drive Elementary School. language Erica Stace gives us about nature. The meadow sings like a lullaby, the grass swaying to the rhythm, the rabbits hopping to the beat. See what is meant by children's poetry being written? Enjoy the beautiful language Jack Treston gives us about a mermaid. The mermaid sings like a quiet humming in the night. Graceful music, splashing the water with her tail fin. Her long hair blowing in the wind. Humming quietly in the night. Enjoy Michael King's leaps of imagination, from woodpecker to a statement about poetry. A woodpecker sings like drums and bongos, rapping and playing in a chorus. The drums are played with sticks. Bongos are played with hands. They are both in the same family. They can make loud noises when they want to. That's how poetry is done. For 20 years, the Walt Whitman Birthplace Association has been conducting a poetry contest, now called the Best Young Poets Contest. And I'm going to read excerpts for the first 3 stanzas from a long poem, New York Gathering, by 14-year-old Ryan DeVito, an 8th grader of North Country Middle School in Middle Place in the 2007 contest conducted by Cynthia Shore, the association's new executive director. Ryan's poem has the catalog sound of Walt Whitman's floral sentences. New York Gathering. The silver snow falls as I ski from the summit of White Face in silence. The only sound is that of my skis carving out the snow. The cool waters of the St. Lawrence push us downstream in our white-watered kayaks. The soft sand is shoveled on by children who have come ashore from their sailboat moored in Sagaponic. You know the place I speak of? I have seen New York, perhaps the most picturesque state, the microcosm of this great nation. I have seen the most glorious flowers and trees grow in this great state. The red roses, the colorful carnations, our purples and blues, the tall evergreens of the Adirondack. I look on to the stunning shales and sandstones, which are sheltered by plants of all kinds. The wind whistles in the willows on a warm summer day. The sky is azure blue, and rarely a cloud passes over. The steep hill slopes can be seen in the distance. The family's old Ford pulls into the driveway and is followed by a few more. The family gathers together to celebrate the independence of their country. There are thousands of similar language poems by the young in scrapbooks and bureau drawers in homes throughout Nassau County, throughout Long Island. I will seek to have our young poets included in many poetry readings, in the half dozen or more occurring each week in coffee houses, bookstores, and libraries in Nassau County. And to let you know that I started my work as Poet Laureate in Nassau County a few moments before I took office, talking with Cliff Kleidner about this, and he was very interested and has some candidates of his own. Now, in closing, we started off with one of Long Island's two major poets, William Cullen Bryant, and we have the other, Walt Whitman. It's interesting, I guess some of you have been on the internet and know there's been a lot on the internet about this, and there have been pieces on there that have brought up Walt Whitman, what he would have done, what might have happened to him. Talking about, not that he was opposed to the Union War, the poets out there weren't, but he comes to people's mind when such a situation like this. And I felt sort of honored that my situation, we're talking about my situation here and Walt Whitman's at the same time. I'll take a lesson on that, inspiration on that. But I do want to let you introduce to you Walt Whitman is here today. And I would like to introduce Walt Whitman, my colleague. I have to tell you that occasionally Mr. Bryant does come here, and I have introduced him. I was the first one to introduce William Cullen Bryant in 160 years. So I think I'm the first to introduce Walt Whitman in about 160 years, something like that. So thank you, Mr. Whitman. As your poet laureate, I will work to make Nassau County America's county of poetry enthusiasts, and further even to make Long Island America's poetry idol. Thank you.
That. Isn't that great?
That's Susan.
Yeah, that's Susan. Remember when you guys need that guy? It's really good. Here we go. Here we go. Max. Thank you. Stick out a little bit. Now you're doing it, Cal? Oh, Here we go.
Young poets.
Right?
Oh, they're there already.
This is a great poem. I'm doing it.